then just keep moving on.
That was faster than the run that's on your world record for New Plus.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ASF. We have a surprise run here. We gotta shift around the schedule, but we will pretty much be on time for our next run after this. I'll allow you to introduce yourself and the game and get the run started.
Alright, what's up everyone? I'm Drakodan. This is going to be Astro Boy Omega Factor. I know you didn't ask for this run, so I'm sorry ahead of time, but we'll make it a good one. It's a pretty good game. Everyone that I've ever seen who's played this game thinks it's really good, and I agree. So we're going to have some fun with this, hopefully. It's a nice short and sweet beat 'em up game, and I'm ready to get started whenever y'all are. So I can give a countdown and we can get going in 3, 2, 1, and go. So we're going to start with the tutorial, which you just completely skip, don't need to do it. You do miss out on an upgrade point, and upgrade points are very vital, but the upgrade points are routed pretty specifically so that we can go as fast as possible and save time. So that first enemy wave there is pretty indicative of how most of this game's progression works. This game is essentially at its core a series of enemy waves. You reach the next enemy wave, the screen locks, and then you can only progress once the enemy wave is dead. The game defines the enemy wave as being dead as when all of the enemies have left the screen, and that includes their corpses, which bounce around randomly after you kill them. So there is some slight RNG depending on the trajectories that you get on enemy corpses. And there's a lot of RNG and a lot of waves on where the enemies actually choose to spawn in from, so there's that as well. Do a nice little quick cancel there so we can exit that screen a little more optimally. Get a good RNG seed here where the car goes high instead of low. That's basically just a 50-50 coin flip, you can't really control that. And we get our first upgrade point. So this is a beat 'em up game, you've got a lot of stats that you can upgrade. The one that we're going to be going for the most of the game is the laser stats. Bosses are dispatched very quickly with the arm cannon, which is used by the R button, and the arm cannon is also the main reason that we play on easy difficulty. The game is extremely difficult on hard, but even if it was like, you know, an easy enough journey on hard mode, you're very limited in the number of super attacks that you can use on hard difficulty. You are limited to a maximum of 3, whereas your super usage is pretty much infinite on easy. And so you get some pretty entertaining boss strategies that come into play. So just deal with this enemy wave, using the kick a little to try and cluster them. It's one of Astro's main abilities. You have your punching abilities, your kicking abilities, finger lasering and such. The kick has some very nice uses though, such as being able to turn enemies themselves into projectiles, which can then be fired at other enemies, and it can be used to cluster them quite nicely. You're also seeing me use the boost, which is the Jets stat. The Jets stat in the old route was actually the stat that was boosted first to give you some more movement speed, but refining the route a little more and going just for laser turns out to be faster because you really don't need to upgrade the Jet stat since you have essentially quote-unquote infinite boost as long as you stay grounded. Your boost gets instantly refreshed when you touch the ground, so if you never leave the ground you can just keep boosting indefinitely. And that boost is very useful not only for movement but also for defense, because whilst you're boosting, Astro is completely intangible. Doesn't take damage from any source, like no matter what collides with you, if you're in the boost state, it does not touch you. So you can use that to pass through attacks, pass through solid enemies, and you can also use that to set up a lot of screen-wide attacks, since enemies will often come on from like one side of the screen, and you can use the boost to go past them, but then when Astro becomes solid again, Astro and the enemy can't occupy the same screen space. Something has to move. And if you boost past them, it's typically the enemy that moves. The game forces them towards the center of the screen. So you can then turn around and use an arm cannon to hit the entire screen, and that clears out a lot of enemy waves. That was the stage 1 boss, by the way. That's already over, and that's the strat that the TAS uses as well. I say, I call it a TAS strat as though it's impressive. It's not a very technical strat, it just happens to be the fastest way to dispatch the boss. Again, the arm cannon in this game is extremely overpowered. 4 cycles of just using a single punch plus the arm cannon, and that boss goes down very easily. It's a good indication of like why we run on easy difficulty for this game, because it does speed up the game very significantly, having unfettered access to your super attacks. So we come into stage 2 here, which is the first auto-scroller stage. This game is divided between land-based side-scrolling beat-em-up segments, and then you also get these auto-scroller segments, so to speak. There aren't very many of these in the game though, and you do have an element of optimization in these auto-scrollers. They follow the same rule as the other segments, in that the enemy waves are going to progress by clearing the screen as fast as possible. And most of these waves do have scripted locations that enemies will appear from. So it's pretty much a case of just being in the right place at the right time over and over again, including taking damage boosts in particular spots quite often. It is possible to get that top enemy that I just missed, but it is extraordinarily tight. When I did the tasks for this category, I had to actually work quite a long time to get a setup that actually worked there. I think I had 0 frames of movement that I could have lost and still gotten a quick kill there. All for the sake of like saving a bunch of frames, because that's just that's the type of game that this is. There's no huge big skips in this game, there's no glitches or tricks in this game. What this game is an optimization nightmare. That it's 1,000 different ways to lose several frames, and it's just stringing together all of the most optimal stuff that you can manage. It's easier than you would think to play close to optimally in this game because of how much room there is to buffer your inputs as well. The game is actually pretty generous in how much time you have to like buffer your next input out of your current animation. So like that's something that like some fighting game enthusiasts will be familiar with. Some fighting game enthusiasts also hate that kind of system, but it is what it is. It's very useful for this game. So 3 punches and a arm cannon to deal with this mini boss. We'll get another upgrade point, go straight into the laser stat again. And we're just going to carry on. We're going to come to a dark room here, which you can't see in this room unless you have enough points in the hyper center stat, but it doesn't help you go faster, so we don't upgrade the stat. Get another upgrade point here. Once again, we're just going to keep beefing up the laser stat. Instant arm cannon to unlock the door at the end of the room here. Of course, this bat pushes me to the left slightly. That's just unfavourable RNG, but it doesn't really change anything. And we get through a little... I would have preferred to not touch the ground there, but I kind of mistimed that boost. Oh yeah, and if you're on the rightmost pixel there, the boost to get over that little ledge fails, so good job, mate. Take care of one robot here. Going to need to time a boost to be intangible to avoid the damage from those falling on you. Arm cannon plus a finger laser dispatches these guys, and we just boost onto the next screen. Now, this screen is... I probably hate this screen more than any other in the game, especially when I was making the tasks. I actively stopped work on the tasks for a few months because of this screen, because it was just a nightmare to optimize. And then once I found a variant that I was pretty happy with, I found that there's like a cycle at the end of the auto-scroller that you can't really directly control in a conventional sense, and you just stand to lose like a couple of 100 frames if it's not perfect, and it's hard to describe, but just all you need to know is I kind of suffered over it. That's but we got through it fairly fine, and we actually got a good cycle at the end of the... Yeah, it's docking at the bottom of the screen pretty quickly. And did I get the right frame data there? Yeah, okay, so there's a few frames to time using an arm cannon there to actually kill those enemies in a single blast without getting hit yourself. And starting with Leo, this is not good. This is Pook. This guy always goes between the... What the... Okay. Goes between the 4 animal forms that he has at the start of combat. And once he goes through the 4 animal forms, he's going to start randomly going between the forms. And you want to see the lion form as little as possible, because there's a bit of forced... Jerk. There's a little bit of forced time loss every time the Leo form appears. And I struggled a bit with the fish form there because I just mistimed when to start my arm cannon. There's a Leo form. The frame data is such that you can get the full amount of damage needed to trigger the next transformation if you time each arm cannon within like a specific frame window, but it's a little harder than you think for the fish form, since you need to start damage early enough so that it doesn't dig below the floor. But if you start it too early, then you don't get all of the ticks from the actual arm cannon, so then you still don't get the damage. So it's actually pretty tight. So stage 3, we're on the moon, and the last upgrade point that I got, I did not misclick. We do deliberately put that upgrade point into shot, because there's a couple of instances of screen-wide enemies here where with one shot point we actually destroy the enemies all in one hit. and the shot is going to be the secondary stat used at the end of the run. So this is a pretty convenient spot to start leveling it, since it results in a little bit of direct time save at this stage. So this silo section, boy, every runner loves this screen, where you've got enemies spawning at like random points of the screen, and again, you can't progress until all of these are dead. This is okay. Gonna pause scum a little to make sure I can see where the enemies are. Okay, I've actually had worse silo screens. That's fine, honestly. And try to use a little bit of strat there, starting that where you wait at the bottom of the silo for a few seconds so that the first few enemies will hopefully cluster all in one place. And that was first discovered by Star, another very talented runner of this game. So boost through the snakeheads here, turn around and arm cannon to get more than one. Same thing here, arm cannon, just very wide, screen-wide attack, very powerful. The only thing to consider when you want to just spam the arm cannon or any super attack really is you can see every time you trigger a super attack in this game, there is a startup animation that's about 2 seconds long. So you basically need to weigh up the cost benefit of getting the DPS increase from using the arm cannon versus every time you use an arm cannon you're basically losing 2 seconds. So if it doesn't save that much time, then it's actually not a net time save to even use the arm cannon. And I didn't really know what the exact frame data was on frames lost or gained in a lot of spaces until looking at this in a task environment. It's one of the main reasons that I decided to start working on the task for this game, because I was like, man, I wonder what the actual frame data is for a lot of the RTA related stuff in this game. And I was originally just going to make it as like an RTA only theory task, and then I just had a lot of fun with it and I was like, no, I want to make this as optimized as possible. I want to make this a really good task. So, hidden upgrade point here. Getting this upgrade point was not in the route for a long time, but it's a little faster than a different upgrade point that we ignored in Stage 2, and I didn't know until starting work on the like 100% category for this game that getting that upgrade point actually saves time in the section that I'm in right now. This whole screen is another screen where you need the hypersensor to be able to see clearly. Otherwise you have this fog effect, and normally in this section here with those bats, and throughout the rest of the screen, you have really awful lag that occurs. Like, the game basically runs at 50% speed. But for some reason, getting that upgrade point that I just did cancels the lag virtually entirely. I do not know why that happens or how that works, but that is what happens. And it's like, okay, so we can get a slightly more optimal upgrade point, and it significantly shortens the length of this screen. Like, it was a very fortuitous discovery. So I'm going to use another machine gun here, and I'm going to turn around to scroll these enemies off screen sooner, except the random trajectory from that blue enemy, he went to the left, so didn't save any time from that, whatever. These all from a single one, and I'm going to 3 punches into a boost cancel there, just to make the animation slightly shorter. Because if enemies are going to take more than 4 hits, it is very slightly faster to cancel the last hit of a combo, which is always a kick, and restart a new combo. The kick takes a bit longer than the punches, and so it only costs a few frames to cancel the combo into a boost, then cancel that boost and start a new combo. Again, it's all like very frame data-y stuff. It's the sort of thing that like fighting game players would absolutely love. If you like speedruns, if you like anime, if you like fighting games, which I assume that's a pretty decent cross-section of all people playing, watching this stream, you should definitely consider running this game. It's really good. It ticks a lot of the boxes. And we just beat another boss. A lot of the bosses go like pretty fast in this game. So we're going to finish upgrading the laser here. And now we're in Antarctica, where there's like a... It's the what the... Oh, I wasn't supposed to boost that. That's fine. I say that as though it's a big deal, like, oh no, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna lose lots of time. It's like, nothing like that happens in this run. It's just, again, it's 1,000 different ways to lose minor bits of time. That's all it is. So yeah, we're in Antarctica. The first human president of a nation has been elected, and now there's a human terrorist plot to assassinate him, because apparently humans don't like that. There's humans that absolutely hate robots in this universe. Okay, no, this is probably my least favorite screen in the game. Oh my god, this screen. So... Same rule as before, you don't progress until previous enemies are dead. However, you've got these floating platforms, that can randomly appear on the left or the right. And if they're on the right, that's good. They leave the screen really quickly. If they're on the left, that's not good. They take longer to leave the screen. So if they are on the left, you want them to at least be near the bottom of the screen so they leave the screen sooner. TLDR, you want to see as many platforms on the right as you can manage, and you can't control that. It's random. That was okay RNG. That was like, it was not the worst. And there weren't that many high left platforms, so yeah, definitely could have been worse. So now we're zooming back to the conference that we were just at, because there's a nuclear tank headed for the conference. It's like, alright, this escalates pretty quickly, I guess. So we get another lovely little auto-scroller. During the development of the task itself, obviously in an auto-scroller section like this, there's not that much to actually optimize. It's like you're in the right position to kill enemies on the first frame. What else do you really do? So I decided to take it on myself to make sure that whenever possible during these segments, Astro bounces around the screen like a DVD logo. And there's at least one instance in the task where Astro does touch the cornermost pixel of a screen and does the corner DVD bounce. So that's pretty good. Go watch it, see if you can see when that happens. It's like, it's so dumb. There's nothing else to do in these sections. Alright, yeah, this is the way where you can just sit here. I might be in the right spot here to avoid all the damage here, but then you do need to go down a little. Oh, I wasn't. Whatever. I'm bad. I don't know how to play this game. Am I in the right? Oh man, wrong both times. Damn. Taking so many hits, and I'm still like above half life. I got hit and I didn't even take damage there. My life stayed at 16,000. Like what? Alright, maybe easy is a little too easy. I didn't quite get the frame data for that. So the idea of that strat is to intentionally get hit by the first enemy that appears at the top so that you can be in the right position for the bottom enemy to be hitting it on the first possible frame. In other words, not needing to wait until it gets in front of you. But I messed up the timing slightly, didn't have the iframes for it. Take an intentional hit here and get down one bubble of the life bar so that I can start another arm cannon. The arm cannon is really weird in that it gives you some like very selective invincibility and intangibility from certain forms of damage, which the tank itself, Carabs, apparently counts as. So it's a little weird. I don't quite know how to explain it. Which, oh my, of course this guy's just standing here. So you ideally want to be able to kick these enemies, cluster them all in one place. But yeah, small enemies that get stuck on the border of the screen to be a jerk like that. So again, boost around them, turn around, use a screen-wide attack, but this is not the best. It's, yeah, whatever. Random enemy placements, they don't necessarily play ball, the enemy AI is a little weird, it's optimizing this is a little bit of a nightmare. So we're going to do a full punch combo and... Oh, I did not... Wow, that was... How did that even happen? How did I finger laser that? I apparently was holding up on the controller, even though I wasn't, so okay. So laser is fully boosted, now we're going to start boosting shot. Boost ahead, turn around. Again, the enemies snap inwards when they're occupying the same space as Astro once you become solid again. Very exploitable trick throughout the whole run. And we're going to come now into the final auto-scroller section of the run. And appropriately, I would say this is the most technical auto-scroller as well. You've got quite a lot of these like platforms that they don't just sit in place. They loosely track you, but they're also like kind of pseudo-random in how they wiggle around. So you can partially lead them in where they go, and you want them to be as close to the bottom of the screen as possible. But it's just one of those things where you don't have like full control over what they do. That was actually pretty good on that wave, getting the balls as they, pretty much as they came in. That was also pretty favourable. Actually, doesn't matter how quickly you kill these enemies because you have to wait for these spike balls to leave the screen. And this wave here, this wave also, it does not matter how fast you kill these because there's another like small wave tied to these things that come in on their own. These are the ones that you need to then kill as quickly as possible. More platforms, and again with these spike things, which... Oh, that was super favourable. So, again, you've got to kill those as soon as possible, but you don't really control where they spawn in from, and you can only fire right in front of you. So, if they're at the right height, you can kill them super quickly. That was also perfectly optimal, just inside the hitbox, killed on the first available frame. This is actually a pretty good section, I'm not gonna lie. These spike balls trigger based on proximity, so you don't need to even kill them, you can just get near them in a pretty consistent pattern. Just try and lead these things towards the bottom of the screen, and didn't quite have the damage to finish that one before it exited the bomb. That's kind of what I mean, that you don't have full control over where they go. You lead them to the bottom, but they can just decide to go too far, and you don't have like the full damage to kill them before they decide to pop back up. It's a little bit irritating. But again, like everything else, it's only a minor time loss. There is no such thing as huge time losses in this run. Seriously. The only like huge time loss that you can possibly suffer, decided to finger laser there because I just don't want to deal with the 2-second wind-up time of the super. The only like huge time loss you can get in this game, if any, is like dying on a boss fight, and even then, like you start at the boss fight, it's really not a huge deal. Actually, a pretty good kill on that enemy combo there, where you want to take a couple of specific kicks to cluster them in a specific way. Also, this time I boost here, and you can hopefully finish them off just with a normal combo or a finger laser. Now, as you can see here, the screen is a little annoying for this section, as you cannot see which side the enemies are spawning from. For this second wave, however, there's a very consistent setup. Take a deliberate hit, and by that point, the 6 enemies have all come on screen, so you can just do the standard strat of boost to the side, turn around, and laser across the screen once they've all been snapped on screen. 3 cycles of that and we'll be moving on to the boss. We get a nice little health pickup before moving on to the boss. And I say this is a boss, this is barely a boss. So all you've got to do is move to the right a little so that the boss, dead cross, does not get pushed off screen by your arm cannon. The arm cannon only damages enemies that are on screen, so it is possible to push him off screen if you don't scroll the camera far enough, and then he can use projectiles from off screen. That's an easy mistake to make by trying to be too optimal, like starting damage as quickly as possible. And as you can see, yeah, not really a boss fight. I don't consider it a boss fight as well. So now we go 30,000 years back into the past, which is how you know this definitely qualifies as an anime game. And we're going to just get through a couple of enemy waves here. These drop in very convenient patterns to be just instantly owned by the arm cannon. This can just be arm cannoned instantly. And we need to wait for the next one though to again snap it on screen so I can turn around and hit both of them. And we're going to have another one here with some pseudo-random enemies. Lovely. This might be Sketch actually. It's Sketch! And this guy was defending. Lovely. Thank you again. Alright. So that was actually a bad enemy wave. That's an example of like how an enemy wave can go wrong. And once again, it only goes wrong in the region of like a couple of seconds, if that. It's not too bad. This next enemy wave is a few very small enemies, but they are actually some of the most annoying enemies to deal with. I'm just gonna laser to get rid of them all instantly. They can put their shields up and just ignore damage, and it's more annoying than you would think to deal with that enemy wave. And since they don't really stagger, they can like hit you during your combo, so it's just, yeah, you want to just deal with them as quickly as possible. Just take care of these, one finger laser, finish them off. Now, please God, don't make movement sticks in the screen again. Using the intangibility to avoid the wheels here, use a straight jump. So the only glitch that exists in this game, if you want to consider it a glitch, is you can horizontally boost into slopes and the game will push you up the slope faster. I assume just because the game can't like apply the horizontal speed, so it applies it vertically instead or something like that. And here is Sharaku. So there's already been a bit of an AI manipulation used in this fight. This guy can randomly use a couple of different color-coded attacks. And the green attack is really bad, because it wastes like 15 seconds. You can't damage him during it, you've just got to sit and watch him do stuff. But he can only use one color-coded attack at a time, and being below him when the fight begins guarantees that he will use the red-coded attack, which it causes a lot of lag, but it at least means that he will not use the green attack. And now we're back to the present, and now the timeline has changed, and the world is now like a post-apocalyptic wasteland, because all-out war has broken out between the humans and the robots. So we've got to put things right by fighting through the gauntlet of the world's strongest robots. I'm not sure how killing them is going to make things right, but that's what we've got to do for the story. So we've already killed the versatile robot North, And now we come into the invisible robot Denko. This is supposed to be a pretty long fight where he disappears and you've got to trick these sensors, but... And I even get the almost frame perfect, so assuming your movement is perfect there, you have a 3-frame window to land that punch that I just got, and we can start using the shot to initiate stun locks on bosses. I said that shot is the second stat we're going to use, and haven't really been using it a lot. The utility of the shot is that the more it is upgraded, the longer it stuns enemies for. And most of the bosses in this last gauntlet have short periods where you can attack them and they become vulnerable. So if we can stun lock them, we can simply get them in one cycle during their first vulnerability phase, such as the armored robot Brontus here. Every time he uses one of his rolling attacks or the energy core attack, his blue core comes out here that you can see, stays out for a couple of seconds and then it goes back in. So at the current upgrade level for the shot, we're able to generally manage 2 arm cannons for every 1 usage of the shot. The only rule here is that you need to be off the ground to be able to hit the core with the arm cannon. If you are even 1 pixel off the ground, you can hit the core, but if you're on the ground, your arm cannon will miss the core. So we deal with him there. I'm going to come up to the aquatic robot Epsilon here. And this is the only fight where the beginning tactic is a little different. I'm going to start with a shot instead of the arm cannon so that I can see what attack is leading off with. And this is leading off with the giant laser of death, so I'm going to have to use a stun lock here. 2 lasers for every shot. You can't damage Epsilon while this attack is going on, and it kills you extremely quickly, so you have to stun lock this if you want to do this fight quickly and safely. And Epsilon doesn't really get to do anything. Yeah, super attacks are a little broken in this game. And we are coming into the final boss here, Pluto, the world's strongest robot. Appropriately named, Pluto is another one that can kill you very quickly if you don't play around his attacks properly. But, again, the shot can be used to completely stun lock it. So let's see what we get. I do want to use it as little as possible just so that I can use more turns on using the arm cannon to kill sooner. So we'll see what we can get away with. There's a few attacks that he can use here. You want to see missile volleys as much as possible, but he's going for fire or plasma. Plasma, I need to stop this. This is the attack that if you don't play around it, will kill you pretty much before you can really react to it. Well, not react to it, but before you can really stop it. So as long as you get super close to Pluto, it will not reach Astro. 1 more of these, then I will boost away. And time is going to be very soon when Pluto's health reaches 0. So on this arm cannon here, it is time. And then you get some cutscene. You get an upgrade point from Pluto. You get some cutscene. Pluto dies. Then everyone dies because like the apocalypse happens and the Earth is now a wasteland. So good game. This is only the any % route though, and there's a whole new game plus deal where you travel through time and you change the timelines and stuff. It's an anime game. You know exactly the sort of thing that's going to happen. It's a super cool game. Please go play this game if you haven't. It's so good. I like it. And that is the run, so thank you very much to the Anime Speedrun staff for having me. Thanks to the Speed Gaming staff for having this event. Like, just thanks to everyone who's been making this event happen. Super grateful, super great job y'all are doing, and always glad to show this run off. It's just so cool.
Yeah, thank you for showing up. I really enjoy your run. That game is just so cool to see run. It's probably one of the best GBA games out there.
What was the final time, by the way? It's probably a 26, but like
yeah,
what?
26:40.
Yeah, there you go. It's always a 26 if you play right.
Very nice. Do you have any last shout-outs, regards, etc.?
I mean, shout-outs to the handful of people who run this game. There are a few people who really love running this game. There's a few like notable names you'll see on the leaderboard. Primary one I want to shout out again, I mentioned Sonic Ustar during the run. Good friend of mine, great speedrunner. And dude, I'm waiting for you to come back to the game. I know you can like really challenge my time. I know you're capable. I've seen what you can do in other games. Like, let's see it happen, dude.
Yeah, of course. Also, I would like to let everyone know, real quick before I transition off, we will be restarting the stream soon to avoid the Twitch stream's 40-hour limit. Make sure we have more smooth during our actual run sessions. We will be back shortly after a transition. So be ready. Again, thank you very much. I would love to see you again.
Yeah, thank you very much as well for having me. I would definitely be glad to be back. So what have we got next? What is the next game?
Our next game is Sword Art Online Hollow Realization, run by Lil Sharky and commentated by Artisan. You've seen them a couple times. They did a discussion block earlier talking about the game, so we're going to see a bunch of new strats. I think it's going to be really, really cool. It's really fast compared to what it used to be. So, anyways.
With Randy.
That's so fun.
I think that was a tricky one. I think that was the one where you accidentally ran into the fence.
Yeah.
World record.